ease. If the late Mr. Armadale's lawyers want proof of your marriage, they won't go to the church register for it, I can promise you." "What!" I exclaimed in astonishment. "Do you mean to say that the entry in the register is not a proof of my marriage?" "It is a proof," said the doctor, "that you have been married to somebody, but it is no proof that you have been married to Mr. Armadale of Thorpe Ambrose. Jack Noakes or Tom Styles, excuse the homeliness of the illustration, might have got the license and gone to the church to be married to you under Mr. Armadale's name, and the register, how could it do otherwise, must in that case have innocently assisted the deception. I see I surprise you. My dear madam, when you opened this interesting business you surprised me, I may own it now, by laying so much stress on the curious similarity between the two names. You might have entered on the very daring and romantic enterprise in which you are now engaged, without necessarily marrying your present husband. Any other man would have done just as well, provided he was willing to take Mr. Armadale's name for the purpose." I felt my temper going at this. "Any other man would not have done just as well," I rejoined instantly. "But for the similarity of the names, I should never have thought of the enterprise at all." The doctor admitted that he had spoken too hastily. "That personal view of the subject had, I confess, escaped me," he said. "However, let us get back to the matter in hand. In the course of what I term an adventurous medical life, I have been brought more than once into contact with the gentlemen of the law, and have had opportunities of observing their proceedings in cases of, let us say, domestic jurisprudence. I am quite sure I am correct in informing you that the proof which will be required by Mr. Armadale's representatives will be the evidence of a witness present at the marriage, who can speak to the identity of the bride and the bridegroom from his own personal knowledge." "But I have already told you," I said, "that there was no such person present." "Precisely," rejoined the doctor. "In that case, what you now want, before you can safely stir a step in the matter, is, if you will pardon me the expression, a ready-made witness, possessed of rare moral and personal resources, who can be trusted to assume the necessary character, and to make the necessary declaration before a magistrate. Do you know of any such person?" asked the doctor, throwing himself back in his chair, and looking at me with the utmost innocence. "I only know you," I said. The doctor laughed softly. "So like a woman," he remarked, with the most exasperating good humor. "The moment she sees her object, she dashes at it headlong the nearest way. Oh, the sex! The sex!" "Never mind the sex," I broke out impatiently. "I want a serious answer. Yes or no?" The doctor rose, and waved his hand with great gravity and dignity all around the room. "You see this vast establishment," he began. "You can possibly estimate to some extent the immense stake I have in its prosperity and success. Your excellent natural sense will tell you that the principal of this sanitarium must be a man of the most unblemished character. Why waste so many words," I said, "when one word will do? You mean no." The principal of the sanitarium suddenly relapsed into the character of my confidential friend. "My dear lady," he said, "it isn't yes, and it isn't no, at a moment's notice. Give me till to-morrow afternoon. By that time I engage to be ready to do one of two things: either to withdraw myself from this business at once, or to go into it with you heart and soul. Do you agree to that? Very good. We may drop the subject, then, till to-morrow. Where can I call on you when I have decided what to do?" There was no objection to my trusting him with my address at the hotel. I had taken care to present myself there as Mrs. Armadale, and I had given Midwinter an address at the neighboring post office to write to when he answered my letters. We settled the hour at which the doctor was to call on me, and that matter arranged, I rose to go, resisting all offers of refreshment and all proposals to show me over the house. His smooth persistence in keeping up appearances after we had thoroughly understood each other disgusted me. I got away from him as soon as I could, and came back to my diary and my own room. We shall see how it ends to-morrow. My own idea is that my confidential friend will say yes. November 24th. The doctor has said yes, as I supposed, but on terms which I never anticipated. The condition on which I have secured his services amounts to nothing less than the payment to him, on my stepping into the place of Armadale's widow, of half my first year's income, in other words, £600. I protested against this extortionate demand in every way I could think of, all to no purpose. The doctor met me with the most engaging frankness. Nothing, he said, but the accidental embarrassment of his position at the present time would have induced him to mix himself up in the matter at all. He would honestly confess that he had exhausted his own resources, and the resources of other persons whom he described as his backers, in the purchase and completion of the sanitarium. Under those circumstances, £600 in prospect was an object to him. For that sum he would run the serious risk of advising and assisting me. Not a farthing less would tempt him, and there he left it, with his best and friendliest wishes, in my hands. It ended in the only way in which it could end. I had no choice but to accept the terms, and to let the doctor settle things on the spot as he pleased. The arrangement once made between us, I must do him the justice to say that he showed no disposition to let the grass grow under his feet. He called briskly for pen, ink, and paper, and suggested opening the campaign at Thorpe Ambrose by tonight's post. End of Section 55. Read by Marianne Spiegel.